everyone, and welcome to the Limitless Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Theon Sims. Welcome, welcome. And joining us as always is your co host, Dr. Matthew Preston. Hail up the people, and Matthew.
Hey guys, what's good?
Lovely. All right, so today we're diving into the world of real estate. Not usually what we do, but we're going to talk about a particular company that is approaching the market again for some money. Right? They're trying to raise some capital. Company is 138SL. Right? So we did speak about this on a previous podcast episode with a very special guest, Ryan Strawn. You can check it out. I think Preston would probably leave it
You'll put a
either
link in the
here
description
or put
or
the
like
link in
post a
this
pop-up link. Yeah.
precisely. All right. Um, and I think it's called the next APO. That was that, and that was earlier on in this year where we spoke about 138 actually doing an APO, and here we are now in the middle of the offer. Actually, when did the offer open, Preston?
hmm
You remember? I think it opened September the 8th. So the offer actually opened on September 8th. As we record this, it's so interesting that we're recording this. Today's September 19th. It's not just
We're a bit
September
late to the
19th, but
party.
just a bit late, but it's interesting to see because another company listed today, right? It's 1GS, right? One Great Studio. Very interesting listing. Not like previous IPOs. Market's not the same market. I guess. But profit
I
was
wasn't
made.
I wasn't even watching it.
Oh, really? You were too busy.
Looking at it. No. Uh, you sold?
Yeah.
Oh, where we sold that?
125. So
Okay.
just under 25%, like 23%.
Okay.
Not a bad little play. You realize my strategy of putting more than 10 grand worked. But that's a discussion for another time. We're here to talk about 138SL, right? So the offer opened, as we said, September 8th. GK Capital is
I think what we
the
should probably
lead
do is just
broker.
explain first, because people probably don't know like 138 SL. So, for those who maybe aren't from Jamaica or you didn't go to UWI, essentially 138 SL is for student living. They essentially provide housing for a lot of the students at UWI. So, UWI has, thousands and thousands of students. The UWI has the different campuses, but specifically they do some of the buildings that house some of the students at the UWI Mona campus.
Hmm.
So if you've lived on Hall and you know someone that, for example, lived at Irving Hall, like you lived at Irving Hall, Theon, we used to chill around there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Know thyself.
Even what's
Mm-hmm.
the name for the other one? The
Oh,
one near to across from what you call it, spot like that area there.
oh, they used to call that phase one.
Yeah, they used to
That's
call that just before.
Leslie
I think
Leslie
before
Robinson
even
Hall.
before it's phase two, people used to just call it 138.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So phase
Yeah.
one was Leslie Robinson Hall, right across spot. Yeah. Phase two, which is Georgia Lane, like you're heading to Bowl, Huey Bowl, is Georgia
Mm-hmm.
Lane Hall that has 576 rooms. Leslie Robinson has 432 rooms. And those are the first two phases of developed properties. It's funny that you say Huey Mono because when you actually read through the prospectus and so on, they actually said they wanted to be the Caribbean's premier provider of university housing, right? That was something the chairman, Ian Passard, said. So I know currently all their developments have been at UEMONO, but they're not, I don't think I don't think it's just UEMONO in Jamaica that they're targeted. They could target other student living as well, other areas of student living. We'll see. I don't know if NCU needs housing or if other universities need housing, but there's also other UA campuses, St. Augustine, Cave Hill. etc. So I feel like they could expand regionally. Um, so I think that's in their plans. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, they spoke about it. They spoke about
Mm-hmm.
it in the prospectus, but I was just saying, yeah. So that's essentially how they make their money. So if you're a student and you want to live on hall, or you say you're coming from another island, you don't have anywhere else to live, you don't have any family in Jamaica, and you want to study whatever degree, you essentially have to pay. You can live on one of the halls that 138 built, and essentially, you have to pay them rent and different fees and things like that. So they took their money, built up some houses and stuff like that, or some buildings, and then they have like rooms, and then some of them are like 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, some of them have like then a common area, all those different stuff. That's essentially how they make money.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we say APO, APO stands for additional public offering. So it's different from an IPO. They might sound a bit similar, but an IPO, initial public offering, is like, okay, I start a business. Say we have Limitless, and we're like, okay, we want to grow Limitless, so we want to sell a piece of the business to someone else. And then say we want to sell it to multiple people, and we want to put it on the to make it open to the public. We want to put it on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, maybe the junior market. So we say, okay, we will sell 20% of our business, 30% of our business, and that will be the initial offering to the public. Then say after we've raised this 20-30%, we're like, we want to raise some more money, but we will sell another some more, we will issue some new shares or create some new shares, and we will sell that to other investors, or maybe we'll sell the shares also to other people who already own shares in the company. So we can say, okay, we will create these new shares that no one owns. You can buy them, or maybe someone else from
Someone
outside wants
else
to
can
buy
buy
them.
them.
So if it's an outside shareholder, or someone who doesn't isn't an owner in the company currently, um, it's essentially someone who is in the public. So that's really where you have like an APO. So in this case, what's happening? They're creating these new shares, and they're saying, does anyone who, yeah, it includes both the public. So someone, if you didn't own shares in 138, you could now buy shares in 138. Or say you already own shares in 138 now, you could actually get more shares in 138. And I guess what they are trying to use to incentivize people to buy is that they're giving you at a discount to the market price. So they are trying to say, okay, you can get these shares and you can get a lot of shares. So say you're someone who wants to get a large volume of shares. Um, it's not very easy to buy the amount of shares you could probably get in the APO from just the market. It would take either a long time, or what you'd have to do is essentially arrange with someone across the market to say, hey, I want to buy your shares. Let's arrange a deal. So yeah, so that's essentially what the 138 is, and then what the APO is. Anything to add, Theon?
No, I think you. Sorry, I think you summed it up pretty well. Um, so I guess we can actually talk about the offer. So 138 is seeking to raise a minimum of about $2.15 billion. All right. So this is how much money they're seeking to raise from investors. So it's quite a bit of money when you look at the only other offer this year was One Great Studio, and as a junior market company, they were seeking 300 and something million. What's 169 million times two? Right, that's 300 and what 40 million, and now they 138 wants 2.1 billion, 1.5 billion. So uh that's a in my opinion that's a large offer, comparatively, relatively large offer. But what do they want with the money? Right, so if they're taking money from shareholders, right, and giving them shares, what do they want? Like what are their plans for the money? From what I've seen, most of their plans involve just paying off debt. So they're decently leveraged. They have about $4.2 billion. in debt, total debt for the company. And from what I see, they want to basically increase cash flow because a lot of the profits are used to pay off that debt, right? You have to service that loan. If you take out a loan, right? Let's say you're buying a car, you have a car loan, you have monthly payments, right? So they also have payments, but now their plans are to hold on. Did I freeze again?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just gonna speak over the freezing. All right. Um, So yeah, if you have a let's say you have a car loan, right? You have to keep servicing that loan, so you pay in monthly installments. Similarly, the company right has heavy debt, so they have to be paying that debt with the profits that they make. But now, what they plan to do is take the funds that they get from investors, pay off a large portion of that debt, so that frees up a lot of cash. And what they state that they will do is to ensure more regular payments of dividends, right? And funny, I actually went to the investor briefing at Terra
You
Nova.
took any
Terra Nova.
pictures?
I didn't, I
Ooh,
should
Terra
have.
Nova. Ooh. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
the
could have taken a
food
selfie.
was good. I should have.
Right.
I spoke with Ryan. I actually told him it was a good offer. Right.
Did you
I
say you buying?
think I didn't say it was that good. But I joke, I joke, I joke. I told him it's a good offer for some people, right? For some individuals, it's a good dividend play, in my opinion, because I mean, this is obviously not financial advice. Nothing we ever say on this show is financial advice. Just have to leave that disclaimer. It's just Limitless's opinions only, right? This is just entertainment, and
And what Theon is saying right now is Theon's opinion. I don't have his
this
mind.
yeah, this is my opinion, but I think the dividend deal that they're aiming for um is pretty high. It's about 10%, right? And
Didn't you
I
say up
don't
to
know,
10%?
up to 10%, right?
Yeah.
So the offer is you have two there are two offer prices. One price I believe is $4.05. I could be wrong, and the other is $4.40. $4.05 is a discount to existing shareholders, people who have already owned shares at a certain time, right? And yeah, $4.40 is for everybody else, the new shareholders. So I think when I looked at when they were doing the investor briefing, they said that it was over a little bit over 10% dividend yield if you bought at if you're buying to the APO at $4.05. So I think that's pretty good. I mean, imagine a company paying you back 10% of what you invested every year, right? In 10 years or more, you or less, you could make back your money. So yeah. I mean, if you're asking about me personally, I mean, I don't invest for dividends. I more invest for capital gains. So it may not be the best play for me. However, I it could also I don't know, could be also a cap gains play if done right. I don't know if you I don't want to really expound too much on it, but I think there's certain individuals, there's certain entities that would really love this offer. If they get a lot of institutional buy-in, like pension funds, right? They love dividends. They love
Think
stocks that
GK will buy in?
pay dividends. I don't see why not. Um, I think in this climate, I think a lot of people just want cash. So if you're telling me that you're going to be paying 10% dividend yield, I think a lot of people may actually like that,
Their
right?
aim is
Because
to pay 10%.
their aim, yeah. I mean, they don't have to. But you have to, if you're an investor, you have to trust the company, you have to trust the management team that they'll do the do's.
Well, trust but
So
verify.
trust but verify. Amen, brother.
Yeah, so this is the prospectus for 138, which is essentially the document that will explain to you, okay, this is exactly what they're, it'll tell you all the information, a lot of the information that we are going to talk about. So on here, they said the company will use the proceeds to repay existing indebtedness, settle transaction costs. So essentially, even when you do whenever of these offers, remember that your GK Cap is essentially the one who is arranging this, doing all the promotion, and they're doing things that you have to charge for. So even whenever they're saying, okay, here they're raising possibly 2.15 billion, it's not like the company actually gets that amount of money. There's part of that, about 100 million, will go towards transaction costs, which is to actually do the APO, pay the people to work and sort out documents and all of that. But the bulk of it is essentially going to paying down debt. And that debt was used to essentially build the halls. So yet they had to take up money, borrow some money, build up the halls. Now that the halls are essentially built up, what they want to do is pay off some of that debt now with this APO, issue these new shares. And then, as they mentioned, they're going to have, without ever, because I think they go through it in the report, how much money, which report was it? They go through how much where is it? How much that they're paying in terms of like finance costs and other stuff. Let's see. So this is their financial year. So see their finance costs are about 363 million Jamaican dollars. Um, so their profit before they paying the tax is about 335 million, and then when they pay tax, after they pay taxes, is about 300 million. So imagine if they can wipe out a large portion of this finance cost. Essentially, that's a big expense they're cutting out. They're gonna have that extra cash. Some of that cash will be used to, work on building other halls and stuff, because that's something that they spoke about. Because if they make money from building halls, they want to build more halls. They want to build more rooms at the halls and stuff like that. And then they can even go into the other stuff. So um, that's a tip. Like always, I should probably go back. If with the IPOs, a lot of times they'll usually have the use of proceeds, and you can just go through that. They do it nicely here. The other thing that we should mention, that sometimes with these offers, especially like, well, the APOs, really, um, yeah, it's only really with the APOs. They have a target amount of money to raise, but they are saying that they are willing to actually even take on more money, possibly, or upsize the offer. So they're saying, okay, say we want to raise this 2.15 billion, but if you guys are willing to give us more money, we would actually be willing to take on more of that capital. If we get more of
Mm-hmm.
that capital, we still have to pay a bit more for the transaction cost, because that will deal with like more. You have to pay more for because you're making more money, I guess. And then we're gonna actually even pay down more on the debt, and then we're gonna put more. We'll be able to put more money to other investment opportunities, and we can probably speak about that after. So yeah, and they even tell you here. Um, They said that this would result in estimated total savings between 250 million to 420 million, which could be annually distributed to shareholders via dividends. So, yeah.
Operative word is could, but yeah, yeah. I mean, it would be nice if all of those went right back to shareholders. So, and they
Hmm.
did stress that a
Shareholders
lot
been
in the,
waiting.
yeah, in the investor briefing. They
The
did stress
shareholders
that.
been waiting.
And have you seen who are the top 10 now? If you look at the shareholders, it's funds. A lot of the
This is
funds do
Sagicor.
like
That was
cash. Yeah, look,
Sagicor is essentially
Sagicor,
the
more Sagicor, a lot of Sagicor,
NCB
NCB,
here. Barita too. Interesting.
mm-hmm,
JMMB.
and pension
Even some
fund.
pensions. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, a lot of those people
Interesting.
that buy into those hard assets like real estate and so on typically are those same investors, right? Those funds, a lot of those funds, right? If you ever actually look into like unit trusts, um, so a unit trust is just where they take your money and just it's a fund. So they take a lot of people's money and invest it in different assets, right? Lots of different asset classes. And a specific class that they like to hold investments is in real estate, right? And this is one way of getting real estate exposure. And if they can have a fund that you get 10% cash, right? That's pretty nice. 10% dividend yield, I should say. That's pretty nice for them. So I feel like this is very suited towards those institutional entities, right? Those banks, those funds, etc. So if they get good institutional take up, that's what I say. I think it's a good offer if they're offering a 10% dividend yield, right? As a dividend play, I think it's a pretty good offer. So yeah.
I was doing some reading on some of the, I guess, other investment opportunities that they were speaking about. So
Hmm.
um, there's an article that was, I'll probably try to put it in the description. I'll probably share it on my screen. So hold on. Gleaner. So yeah, so I was saying there's this article. This was the day, or the day the offer opened, September 8th this year. So they talk about a lot of the stuff we are talking about. But one of the things that stood out to me, so he mentioned as far as immediate, we have an opportunity. So they say over the next 12 to 18 months, so 1.5 year, 1 to 1.5 years, we hope to add on some additional rooms, 144 rooms, specifically at the Leslie Robinson Hall. The other thing that they mentioned, they've been looking at an opportunity overseas.
Hmm.
He said that they're eyeing to build student accommodation at St. Kitts and possibly Grenada. And I was thinking, Grenada? I wonder what that could be
Mm.
related to. Which university is over at Grenada?
SGU.
Yeah.
Wow.
How many people does SGU have?
SGU is St. George's University
George's
for anyone that's listening.
University, Grenada. Um, One of the
They have a
places I
medical
visited.
program, um, and
Hmm.
veterinary, I believe. So, and that's why me and Preston know about them. Hmm.
Hmm.
Lots of my friends are
Oh,
actually at
see.
SGU teaching right now.
So this article says total enrollment of students as of September 2020 is 8,600.
Mm. It's a big market, to be honest,
Just
because how many rooms
mm,
are there for like Leslie Robinson? We said it was like 400 and odd. So if they can even get a piece of that, that would be great. 432.
mhm. Yeah, interesting.
Imagine if they open
The
a
other
like a
thing, I don't know if it
concession
was.
agreement with one of those. So like, oh, I don't think we spoke about the concession agreement here. So uh okay, so for the first part of the developments, 138 actually entered into a concession agreement with UWI, right? UWI Mono, which kind of guarantees them a minimum of 90% occupancy rate for most weeks of the year. It's like 50, I think it says 51 out of the 52 weeks of the year. Um, and that's for a span of like 30 years up to I think 60 years or more. I think it's up to 65 years. And that's just based on 138's ability to achieve basically a return on their investment, like an internal rate of return. Um, so and they did that with phase one, and then phase two has almost like it's a concession agreement, but I think they call it the restoration concession agreement. It's not phase two, but it's Gerald Layla and Irving Hall. So Gerald Layla Flats is right in front of Leslie Robinson Hall. It's like it's much smaller. They don't have many units, but also Irving Hall too, and it's something similar. I think it's shorter time span. I think it's still about 30 years. Um, and yes, Uemona guarantees a minimum of 90% occupancy rate. So to me, what that means is even if they fall below, UE has to pay that. Right. So even if they fall below 90% occupancy rate, UE has to pay that. Now they have been above 90%. I remember I've seen quotes of up to 93% occupancy, which means hall them full up. And even when I was living on hall, people would fight for spaces on Irving Hall because it was a nicer hall compared to all the other halls. A lot of the other halls. Phase one, I think, was like, number one. Actually, postgrad was up there. Then phase one, which is Leslie Robinson, still owned by 138, was like top of the line. And I think phase two, but people put Irving Hall over phase two. It was a pretty decent hall. I liked it. When I moved on, it was brand new, so it was, fresh and so on. Uh, Good internet access. And one thing they were speaking about, and it's something I saw, especially in the off seasons as a med student, just still living on hall during the summer because we have no summers, of course, the struggles. And one of the things I used to see is a lot of foreign students. Right, so there'd be a lot of foreign students that come and stay, and that's the short-term rentals that they're speaking about. So every time during the summer, we'd see a lot of maybe like swim teams or church groups. They'd come and they would stay on the halls themselves, right? And they would stay for a particular amount of time and leave. But I know the rate is much higher for short-term rentals, and they've their short-term rentals have increased by over 50% when I asked Ryan at the investor briefing, right? So it accounts for about it's over 10% of their revenues. He said about 11% of their revenues comes from short-term rentals, but it is a growing portion of their revenues, right? And it is pretty significant. So I think that's a market they want to tap into, especially and other they said it in the prospectus, other areas of the hospitality industry they want to tap into as well. So just point of information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something else that was interesting. I remember the article. There was this article that was speaking about public-private partnerships. Like they were saying that they'd even be willing something that they an area that they think is untapped would be housing for like hospitals, prisons, and even other schools. So I was thinking, oh, suppose there's like, I don't know, what's a boarding school? I think Monroe's a boarding school, right? Suppose Monroe needed some extra
Mm-hmm.
housing and stuff like that, and they wanted someone to manage it. They could say to 138, hey, could you build this for us? Um, Hospitals, suppose UE or KPH or something, they want to say, oh, we want our doctors to have housing. Like we're getting more doctors. Because UE, for example, they're planning to expand. I don't know. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but they said that they want to build up this new building and stuff. There's gonna that would if depending on how they do it, I don't know if it's that they're gonna close down the older parts of the hospitals, but if they're just adding more space to just house more patients, they're gonna have to have more doctors to be able to manage that. And suppose they want to provide something to their doctors to say, hey, you guys could live here, so it's easier to get to work and things like that. So yeah, I think it was this article. Oh, it was the same one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, it said user pay student housing, blah blah blah. So the government will pay us directly to provide services for hospitals, prisons, and schools. So I say literally untapped in the Jamaican market, and he's saying that that alone could double their revenues in the next 5 years.
Mm.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
What are your thoughts on the offer?
Anything else you like about it?
I said my piece. I said why I liked it. And if they get good institutional buy-in, I personally believe that. I mean, if it is really good institutional buy-in and they take up, and if they upsize, especially in these times, kudos to GK, right? They would have done an amazing job. Like, I mean, GK has been pulling in deals from last year, right? They've been listing companies, right? And then this
Rocking some
is,
people foot.
mm-hmm, yeah. So kudos to GK if they can pull this off, right? Uh, but I would say that if they do get good institutional buy-in and soak up those shares and so on, we won't see much of that so-called APO effect, where the price would probably stagnate around APO price. So if that does happen, and then they actually do start paying dividends, well, and these are all big ifs, but if that does happen, I could see a lot of money being made from this. So,
You said you chipped out. You said so-called what?
oh, no, I was just saying that. So if these institutional investors really do buy up a lot of the shares, and not many people in the public, general public, buy shares, and so on, and they actually upsize, or if they just, I don't remember what I was saying, bro. Hold on. I wish you'll find it back in the play in the thing, bro. But basically what I was saying is, hold on. Let me gather my thoughts. Hold on. I was saying that if institutional investors buy in heavily, right, and soak up a lot of those shares, number one, and that's a big if GK can pull that off, and if a lot of people, especially in this economic climate, if that actually does happen, number one. Number two, if they do also pay the dividends they said they would, they're aiming to pay, right? That 10% dividend yield is what they're going for at $4. Then I could see this as a wicked play still. So, but those are big ifs. Uh, we'll see. Only time will tell. So, yeah. What do you think?
Um, I mean, I see a path for them. It would be nice that those shareholders who bought in at IPO could finally get some uh, consistent return on their investment. It's been almost 10 years,
Mm-hmm,
so the fact
mm-hmm.
that it's almost at the just a slightly above the IPO price after 10 years, I think is interesting. So I think they'll raise their money. I don't know if they'll get the. I doubt they'll get the full upsize, but I think they probably get at least over the base amount. Um, I think at the end of the day, whenever you have a capital raise, you have to always look at, um, what is the money, or what is being done with the money, because I think a lot of times what happens, you can have these raises, not even just equity raises. You can have just a debt raise or anything. You just raise money. A lot of the companies I've seen, they raise a substantial amount of money. Um, they'll do something with the money, whether or not that's an acquisition or they, debt or whatever. Like they lend money to someone else. But I think one of the big issues is that sometimes it's not really, like, shareholders aren't really maybe getting the kind of returns that um, we might want, or I think is deserved. Like, if you're taking my money to do something like this, like you're taking my hard-earned money, I want to see proper return on that. I don't like the idea of waiting. I don't think it's right to wait 10 years, 5 years just to get return. So I think it will
Well, I
be
thought
interesting to
investing in
see
stocks is for the
if
long term.
the money that, huh?
I thought investing for stocks is for the long term, bro. Well, I'm to long
I
term.
don't know. Yeah, but what happens if in that 10 years something happens to, God forbid, one of your family members or something in your life, and you need to sell your shares? Like, imagine if you had bought in to this 10 years ago
Mm-hmm.
at $4, and halfway through you had to sell to do something with that money to fix your car or something because you didn't have money from other areas. Like, that's a real thing. I think it's, as much as you might say long term, and I still consider myself a long term investor, I think you still have to have somewhat consistent returns. So, like, I would prefer instead of just going up, like waiting 5 years for some movement or dividends or something like that. I'd prefer some movement in between there, because you never know, something could happen. You may have to sell part of your stake and stuff. So I'd rather be selling at a profit, or have at least got some cash from dividends, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that it could work out, because as I said, you pointed out, with a lot, I guess, with a lot of the other equity raises that have happened, they don't usually have maybe high dividend payout ratios. So if you look at it, that 10% that they're targeting is pretty high, especially on the Jamaican market. A lot of stocks, they'll pay like maybe a single dividend for the year, or maybe two, but then the yield on the market price isn't really that much. So maybe the overall yield is 2%, 3%, and then that's even before fees.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you take out maybe taxes and things like that, you're not really getting that much. So the fact that they are going to pay out so much, or they are hoping to pay out so much, I think could help to possibly give some support to the share price. One of the things that I probably would have asked them about, that I think I actually thought of, because you had asked when you went to the, was it the general meeting or the investor briefing or whatever? Which one was it, the general meeting or the investor briefing?
Investor briefing.
Oh, so when you went there, you had asked me, "Oh, do you have any questions?" And I said, "Nah, I don't really have any." But one of the things I would have asked them about is a share buyback on the table for them, because I think that would be something that when they get some consistent cash flow and stuff, adding a share buyback would be beneficial for shareholders, especially with issuing these new shares. Because one of the things I was looking at, they're actually doing a pretty, it's quite a lot of shares they're issuing, you know.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a
Because
significant
right
portion.
now, I think in ordinary shares they have about 400,000, and they are planning to issue, I think, about 500, or sorry, 400 million.
Mm-hmm.
They are planning to issue about 500 million, and
Mm-hmm.
they may issue more than that. So they're
Yeah, they can
essentially,
upsize another
you know,
quarter bill. So yeah.
yeah. So it's a pretty big issuance of shares. So um, yeah. So uh, I'll watch it. So it'll be interesting to see. We can probably look back, um, probably a few years from now, to
Mm-hmm.
see if they actually did return true value to their shareholders, not just the balance sheets, but dividends and hopefully cap gains.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's our take on 138's APO. Yeah. If you guys like that content, just spam that like button. If you loved it, just subscribe. Right. This is Limitless, the Limitless podcast. I'm your host, Theon Sims. And that's over there on the other side is Dr. Matthew Preston. Thank you guys for always supporting and always watching. Peace.